Curiosity isn't just a personality trait, it's a skill. And the more you practice it, the more you learn to develop it, it helps you grow faster, it helps you adapt faster and become a better developer and accelerate your career as it does. In software engineering, where everything is constantly changing, curiosity is the closest you can get to having a cheat code, or at least that's what I consider it. It's my secret cheat code to becoming a better developer every single day. Hi, I'm Nayab. I've been a software engineer for 2 years and I've been working in corporate for 5, and I attribute the majority of my career progress to being curious about different roles and what different people do. So in this video, I'll be breaking down the neuroscience behind curiosity and how you can use it to your advantage and towards your career and moving forward in your career and whatever things you're curious about and learning to grow in that aspect as well. So let's get into it. So we've all heard of the chemical dopamine, and when you're curious, your brain actually releases the chemical dopamine, and I won't go into what dopamine actually does. It essentially, it's that reward system in your brain. I'm sure everyone's heard of it and everyone knows about it as well. But being curious releases that dopamine. It almost gives us that sense of addiction to it as well, which we all have from watching TikTok and watching YouTube all day. But actually being curious about a topic will give you an intellectual stimulation as well, and that long-term reward of having gained knowledge as well. And when you're curious, especially when I'm thinking back to when I'm learning to code, when you first learned to code, you were curious about it and it felt rewarding when you were learning about it. But in our day-to-day, especially when you're in your job, and it almost feels mundane, we let go of that curiosity to know more about the code and what's happening. This curiosity, when we bring it back into our lives, those dopamine receptors are reformed again, and we can actually start releasing dopamine the more we're curious about the things we're learning about, even if they're the same things we've learned about in the past. I'm sure we've all done data structures and algorithms, but looking back, in uni times, I found that dreadful. But now when I'm referring back to those data structures and algorithms in my day-to-day job, I'm actually learning to enjoy it, and I can feel that sense of happiness from that understanding coming. And this happiness which is coming as a result of that dopamine being released, it turns this learning into a form of pleasure itself. And when this dopamine flows, it's actually making our brains more plastic. We're creating new neural pathways which we can learn in, and we can adapt faster as well. And as an engineer, there's nothing more important than being able to learn and being flexible in the face of uncertainty and in the face of constant change that's coming your way. Literally today, when I'm filming this video, I've put out a ticket in the morning and the requirements for that ticket changed by 12 o'clock. And they changed again by 2 o'clock. And having to put these out is constant change, and having to go back in a PR, it can be a dreadful experience. But if we actually look at it as I get to go back to the PR and I get to understand the code a bit more and why we're changing it, especially on the business side of things, why we're changing it, it becomes a bit more fun. And there's nothing more important in life than having fun. And that's how curiosity releases dopamine, and it makes you more curious. Curiosity literally rewires your brain, and it makes it happier and more plastic and inclines you towards the learning and being happier whilst you're learning as well. But as curiosity, it makes you more inclined towards learning. I think as an engineer, you want to be confident, and we all worship confidence as an engineer. I personally look at my favorite engineers at work and I'm like, I wish I was half as confident as them. But now that I'm looking at it from a different lens, I noticed that the best of the engineers are actually really, really curious, especially when I'm sitting through and debugging on these more difficult tickets that I'm working on now. What I'm learning is the reason that they seem so confident is because they're always curious. They're curious to get to the bottom of the problem, of curious while debugging, curious while finding solutions as well. And that's what gives them this confidence. So as an engineer, we can actually create confidence within ourselves and our work by being curious about what we're doing. If we're curious, I think we have this ability to reach a solution at some point or the other and actually enjoy the process of getting there. It's almost like the concept of feel-good productivity, but feel-good curiosity. And also on that point, whilst you can't always be confident in what you're doing, you can always be curious about it. And for me personally, I think curiosity plays a much larger part than confidence does, because as a junior, I'm not nearly as confident or as capable as the engineers that I'm working with. But being curious allows me to stay engaged and interacting with everyone, form closer relationships with everyone, because I want to know what the work that they're doing on, even if I can't directly contribute to it. And so whilst confidence says like, I know this or I can do this, curiosity is more like, I will be able to do it and I will find out a way to do it. And I think that growth mindset is the shift that you need as a junior, especially, that I can always learn, I can always grow. And if I can just ask the right questions, if I can always be asking questions, that puts me in that position to grow. That's sort of what killed off my fear as a junior as well. And that brings me on to point number 3. I think curiosity is such a good killer of fear. I think all juniors, maybe it's just me, but I've noticed that a lot of juniors around me as well, we have this inherent fear of looking dumb and always coming across as not our smartest selves. All the juniors I know, they're way smarter than they actually think of themselves, especially like my colleague. He's like the smartest person I know, but he doesn't see it in himself. And I also think that being curious, it allows you to overcome this fear of looking dumb, not knowing what's going on, not feeling confident enough to take part in a meeting. For me, that's exactly what it's done. When I first started out in joining meetings with all the different engineers and I was working with them, and I would sit in these meetings and I wouldn't know what's going on at all. And I'd find myself thinking like, maybe this isn't the right career path for me. Although I'd worked really hard, I'd worked 3 years on my degree and I found my degree good as well and I enjoyed my degree. But when you're in an actual job, you start thinking, oh, this is not what I'm capable of. But then when I had the mindset shift of thinking, how did they get this good? They got this good through practice, through 10 years of asking questions and reiterating. And how can I get that good? It's just ask questions, ask why things are happening, and then I can actually understand more. And that will compound my understanding over time and I'll become equally as good as the engineers I'm working with. That got rid of the fear instantly almost in me that I'm not good enough, I won't be able to learn, because I now have the confidence in myself to be able to learn. I'm always able to learn what I don't know. And so I don't have this fear of I'm not smart enough or I don't know X and I don't know Y, because I can always learn X and I can always learn Y, and that just keeps me growing. As I'm growing more and more as an engineer, I think curiosity seems like the real aspect of engineering, or at least it's what's made engineering come to life for me personally. I think as an engineer, I wasn't as inclined towards the going behind a screen and just coding away. It just didn't appeal to me. It's not the reality of the job. I think you've already seen on my channel that coding is actually the least of the job. It's about 30% of the skills that you actually need to be a good engineer. And being curious actually makes up the rest of what you need to be an engineer. Like if you're debugging and you're genuinely curious about what the problem is and where the code could have gone wrong, because in your head you wrote the perfect code, then what could have gone wrong? If you're actually curious about it, it makes it a fun process to debug it. Working in a team, if you're actually curious about the problem and curious about the people that you're working with, it becomes such a fun experience. And for me, it just reframed everything in such a positive way. Working with business managers, ever since that little bug in my brain popped up telling me like, oh, what's the business side of things and what's happening on that part? Why am I writing this code and what's it doing in the business? It's made me so much involved with the product managers and the business owners and the people who are working on the business side of things. And it's actually led to more career growth as well. Initially, when I was working in the company, I was in data processing, and then I was curious about, oh, there's an engineering team. I heard someone say it, and then I asked my manager about it, and my manager referred me to someone else, and then they referred me to someone else, and I was just talking to these people and getting to know them, well, not with the intention of becoming a software engineer. I started my degree, but I was like, I probably won't be at this company by the time I graduate. Who would have thought? But I think having that interaction with other people and being interested in what they're doing, it leads to career progression as well. This applies to everyone, absolutely everyone who wants to progress. If you're interested in anything, the best way to reflect that to other people is to ask them questions. How will they know if you're interested if you don't tell them? And the best way to get someone else interested is to ask them about what they're doing. And that helps with career progression as well. Curiosity gives you career progression. Who would have thought? And with this career progression, it's like you're not a walking talking encyclopedia. Everyone has some bit of knowledge they know. And as one of the lead engineers says, I'm good at what I know, but you can't expect me to be good at what I don't know. So I try to get good at what I really know, but have a vague idea of other things I don't know as well. So the best engineers aren't walking talking encyclopedias. They're just very curious and eager to learn as well, eager to act on their curiosity. So now I can actually tell you some practical things on how to train your curiosity, because as soon as I became aware that I'm getting better when I'm asking these questions, something sort of clicked in the back of my head about how I can become more curious and how I can improve a bit more. So I thought I'd share them as well. So the first thing obviously is to ask why more often. It will help you overcome your fear of asking questions, which a lot of people have. Just ask. And if you don't want to ask the upper management straight away or someone that's higher up, just ask the people that are in your team or ask the person next to you. Type out the question and ask it after the meeting. That helps train that curiosity every single day. Try asking one why question a day and keep a log of it as well, and keep a log of the answers that you got. This log is what I call a curiosity journal, and I have one of my own as well. And in this curiosity journal, I keep one thing I learn every day. One question that I ask is what I initially used to do, and then it's changed now to one thing I learn a day. And keeping this curiosity journal, and you can track the progress you're making at being more curious over time. I think within a few weeks, you'll notice a difference in your skills. If you can just ask one question a day about why a certain system is working that way, why a certain decision was made, why you should do things differently. Or maybe you can just search it, what is the best coding practice in this, and learn that way. By having this curiosity journal as well, I think it's encouraged me to flip over questions which had a little bit of fear lingering behind it, and it just helped me flip that. And because I'm now curious instead of scared of what I'm asking, it's coming from a point of genuine interest, and I'm learning. Any fear that you have inside of you that you're like, oh, I'm going to look like this, turn into, I'm going to learn from this experience. You can just have that intrinsic switch, and once that switch is made, it just pushes you in such a positive direction that you're going to really notice a change in your energy and the energy you're bringing to the table in meetings as well. And the last thing, which I personally found really, really beneficial as an engineer, is to ask about other roles, not just for your own career progression. You can obviously do that, but have an interest in what other things exist within the work that you're doing. Like, you could be making a system for accountants, as an example, but the ones that are using it might not always be accountants. It might be some financial experts of another capacity, or it might just be students who are practicing, and a business owner as well, who's got no accounting background. You just having an interest in who are using these things, who are playing a role in the things that you are being impacted by, who you're impacting as a result of the decisions you're making as well. It really increases your brain space and your region of thought as well, where your hands are reaching in all capacity. It really helps to give context behind the things you're doing. That's what it's done for me, and it's made me really mindful of the code I'm putting in, how I can make it more practical for other people as well. And so curiosity isn't just a talent, and I think it's a very learned thing for me as well. I actively learned it, so I could be less ashamed of the questions I was constantly asking in meetings, and it just made me that much more confident in myself as an engineer. And so it's definitely a skill, and as with any skill, it can be learned. And especially in tech, where nothing literally stays the same, being curious is the best thing you can do. Constantly being curious, you're going to improve by 1% a day, and your improvements will compound, and you're going to keep growing as an engineer. And as a junior, you're not aiming to be the perfect engineer, you're aiming to be a curious engineer, and you're going to keep growing like that. So if you like what we talked about in this video, how about you leave a comment down below about one thing that you're curious about and you actually research, and maybe you can even leave down below what you learned as a result of your research as well. And I do have a newsletter down below calling to all engineers, so subscribe down below on my stand store. And if you liked what you saw, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.